Hello and welcome to the Liverpool Way podcast after the most humbling night of the Jurgen Klopp era. Our Champions League dreams are in tatters again following a devastating 5-2 defeat by Real Madrid at Anfield. A lightning-fast start saw the Reds race into a 2-0 lead, raising hopes of another great European night and a measure of revenge for last year's final. But the visitors responded like European champions do, but were aided by some shambolic defending from Liverpool as the night quickly deteriorated after the break. Once again, Carlo Ancelotti has the Reds number posted Istanbul, and few will entertain the possibility of another miracle to get back there. I'm Chris Smith, and the brave souls joining me tonight for this one are Stu Montagu and TLW editor Dave Usher. Dave, I haven't really felt this way in a long time. We've had some bad results this season, some gutting results throughout this era, but Liverpool have just been completely and totally humiliated at Anfield in the European Cup. It's tough to process so soon after the game, but what's your initial reaction to that?
Yeah, I'm just more shocked than anything. I don't really have any strong feelings about it. It's like a bit surreal the way that happened. I mean, if you'd have said beforehand we'd lose 5-2, I'd be like, okay, I could kind of see a way in which that happened, but not for us to go like 2-0 up and be looking amazing and then just completely like capitulate. I mean, the only thing I can really take from that, how I would assess it, is it's a lot like what I've been saying for ages. It's like that intensity, we've got it in like a short burst, and then it fizzles out, and then we look shit when we can't play at that level. And like the first 20-25 minutes, that looked exactly like Klopp in the Champions League at Anfield. It just looked like us, and then whether it was the first goal that they scored, whether that took the wind out of our sails, or whether we just dropped the tempo and we just couldn't sustain it. After that, it was just fucking awful. Absolutely, it was grim to watch. I don't want to make excuses, but I feel like we didn't really get the rub of the green either. You know, it's like everything that could have gone against us, like deflections and not getting penalties, we could have got stuff like that. We didn't have anything go our way. But even so, I mean, fucking hell, that second half was shambolic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not really sure I'm ready to give us that much credit in terms of the rub of the green even. But Stu, as Dave kind of intimated there, great start. Once Madrid got back to 2-2, though, in those circumstances, it felt like the belief just completely drained out of the team, and we lost complete control and never recovered it.
Yeah, it's frustrating because even in the moment, even in the heat of that first half, I couldn't help but feel that we needed to be making more of it, because that's pretty much as well as we've played for a long time. It genuinely was. That first half an hour was excellent, really good, high pressure. I wouldn't say they couldn't get out, but we were winning it off them in good positions. We were dangerous. And even in that moment, you're like, you have to get on top of these, because they are going to have periods where they're going to get the ball and they're going to knock it. Because it's Real Madrid. The idea that like they're going to put on a show, well, they're always going to do that. 90 minutes of football against them, they're going to have periods where you've got to chase or you've got to sit in, or you know what I mean. You're not going to keep them under the cosh forever. And then for it just, I mean, the second goal kills you, because you just. Yeah. I felt for them at half-time. I genuinely did feel for them at half-time, because I don't think they deserved to go in level. I felt like they were the better team in the first half. Even though Madrid came into it towards the end of the first half, I thought they were the better team by a decent notch. I don't think it would have been too much to say they were 2 goals better in that first half for me. I know Real Madrid get in a couple of times, but just on the balance of where the football match was happening, and I don't think it's definitely 1 goal. They were definitely 1 goal better. But then the second half, to let. I've got no real issue with. I know we'll probably go through the goals, but just the way the defending of the set piece sets the tone for the half. Because I don't mind Joe Gomez trying to go and win a ball, and he doesn't get there, and he smashes into someone. And it's fair enough; it's an inch away. But it's so poor. It's so passive. And then it became passive for most of the half. But the weirdest thing, I think we've said it before with Real Madrid, though, you come away from these Real Madrid games, and they're just ruthless. I don't know what it is, though. You always feel like, how have they done that? Even to score 5 goals, you're like, how have they done that again? Like, it is magic. Like they've got a spell over you or something. Everything that they touch goes in. Nothing you do hurts them. You know, I'm not pretending it's hard lines. I don't think it is hard lines, but
No, you're right, though. I know what you mean.
I wouldn't even go along with the humiliation. I know people say that sometimes about like, oh, you've been humiliated. I expect to chase the ball a bit against them. That's not a problem. And I also think even in the dying minutes of the game, you're in their half, you're in their third all the time, and you're not really hurting them. And it's just, I don't feel humiliated. I feel like Real Madrid have just Real Madrided again, and a game that could have been 4-3 or could have been, whatever. It just. They take it away from you, and then you're just chasing the ball, and it looks. I don't know what it is with them. It's like, do you know what it reminded me of? And I don't know what. It's just coming to my head now. Lord of the Rings at the end, where like the orcs feel like they're on top, and then they just go, "Ghost Army." There you go. It just feels like that's Real Madrid. Real Madrid are just like, "Oh, I think we're winning here." Ghost Army, 5-2.
Oh wow, yeah. So, I mean, is there anything particular that you can kind of put it down to, Dave? From our point of view, is it just the individual errors, or like is it like a loss of belief, like a lack of leadership, an inability to sort of gain some sort of semblance of control in these heated situations where it's kind of somebody to just get the lads together and say, come on, let's just like 5 minutes here where we can just be solid and not do anything silly. It just seems to be completely been lacking that.
It's all of that. It's all of that. Mistakes cost us, and then you could see the belief just sapped away from them. I mean, we've started that game, and the confidence looked high right from the start. Then we score after 4 minutes, so obviously we're flying. Then we get gifted another goal. But it was a gift of a goal, but we were worth a 2-goal lead at that point. We were playing so well. It was like there's nothing like lucky about the scoreline. I mean, the manner of the goal was a bit fortunate, but then I don't know. It just felt like as soon as they scored one, you're like, okay, the next goal's going to be massive now, and we just fucking gift wrapped it to them. And then from that moment on, I never felt like we were going to win the game. Once it got back to 2-2, I just thought, no. It's gone. And then you give away that really proper shit goal at the start of the second half. I mean, you've just got like 6 statues in the box. There's only like one player in the entire penalty area who's moving. It's the lad who scores. And everyone else has just stood completely still. I don't know whose responsibility that was, who should attract them, whether they were just marking zones or what, I've no idea, but you just had like a load of people standing still. One lad moves, Modric puts it right on his head, and just like that, that's it. It's we're done.
Because so simple for them, wasn't it? Because it was Modric just completely telegraphed that. Like, it was obvious that that's what they had planned all along, and sure enough, it was just dead simple for them.
They didn't even block anyone. It wasn't like they did anything clever or sneaky. It was just none of us reacted to it. That everyone's just stood still, thinking somebody else is going to pick up the run or whatever. Nobody does, and it's such a shit goal to give away. And you're playing against Real Madrid. It's like they're going to give you problems anyway. You can't just hand them stuff on a plate, and that's what we've done. I mean, the first goal, you know what? First goal, you can pick holes in that and say, like, he's anticipated the pass and he's ran away from him, and like it's opened up a space. You can pick holes if you want, but that's just a fucking really good bit of skill and a great finish. Because when you look, like, Gomez is trying to block it. I think it is Joe Gomez trying to block that. He's almost there, it's not like he's done anything wrong there. He's bent it around him and inside, like right in the corner, like the one place he can score. So you look at that and go, world-class player doing world-class things, okay. But then the second goal was just a comedy of errors. I mean, there's 4 players really involved in that, like, Fabinho and Bajcetic initially. But then that's dealt with. They could have done better, but I'm kind of excusing them because the problem was then dealt with. It's not a great ball. Gomez has tracked the run well. He's got back. But you cannot be playing that ball to Alisson when it's that tight and a player as fast as Vinicius is going to be running, closing him down. You just knock that out. Just knock it out sideways for a throw-in. Do not be taking stupid chances at that point in the game. And then, having done that, what the fuck's Alisson doing? He can see that the direction that Vinicius has ran. So that when you look at it from behind the goal, there's like a massive gap where Alisson could have just smashed it up the middle, just booted it up the pitch, and instead he's trying to be a smart ass playing a pass when the player is like right in front of him blocking it. And that's twice he's done that now this season. It's twice he's made that same mistake. And the thing is, Alisson's amazing and he's had a fantastic season. I don't trust him with his feet. I just don't. I don't think he's great with his feet. I trust Alisson in any other situation. I think he's the best in the world by far. When the ball's at his feet, I've always got a little bit of, not sure what's going to happen here.
He's great with his feet when there's like zero pressure.
Yeah.
Like he can play a 40-yard pass as well as any keeper.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You know, but when there's any semblance of an attacker in his presence, you don't want him
playing
pissing about.
football. Like, passing it around. I don't want him doing that. And I know that's not necessarily his fault. It's how we're told to play. But you've still got to take your own decisions in certain moments. You know, if he clears that up the pitch, Klopp's not going to go, what the fuck are you doing? I want you to be passing it to Gomez. So that's still the responsibilities ultimately. It's with Alisson, and it's also with Gomez, because he should never have played the pass back to him in the first place. And especially like in that situation, you know, we need to get to half-time in the lead. Don't be just giving them a present like that. That was the turning point in the game for me, was that absolutely dog shit goal that we gave away. And then you give another stupid one away straight after half-time. And then after that, it's like, what happens after that? You know, one of the goals is a complete fluke. And then the other goal, mistake by Fabinho, who I thought, other than that one mistake, I thought Fabinho was one of our better players tonight. I thought he looked a bit more like Fabinho. But... no, it's really just a sobering experience watching that. It was like, fucking hell, is this really happening? You know, but what I would say is, I said this before the game, on the last pod, I said, like, you know, whatever happens in the Real Madrid game, it shouldn't really change what, you know, the momentum that we've built from, like, the 2 league wins, because you're playing Real Madrid. So we're not, like, at that level at the moment. You know, so you can't be judging your progress and as a barometer of where you are by putting ourselves against Real Madrid. You know, Real Madrid.
Well, we can't beat them when we're the best team in the world.
No, we're not equipped to really be. Like, I thought we'd win tonight. I'll be honest, I did think we'd win tonight, but I wasn't saying we're going through. I thought it would have been a tall order for us to go through. I could have seen us winning tonight, like, you know, edging it by a goal. But then I would have fully expected us to just go away and then do enough and knock us out, because we're just not really in that place where we can compete at the moment. So what I was saying was, this game, don't be looking at that as like, all up the progress we've made over the last couple of games, you know, because we have made progress, and it's only tiny steps. It's not anything to be excited about, but compared to where we were after that Wolves game, the complete disarray that we were in, it has been better, and it looks like we're making progress again. Don't let that tonight knock confidence and get us like back on the floor again. You know, forget it, it's gone. Just go and beat Crystal Palace. Go and get 3 points at Crystal Palace, and then you can dismiss this and you go, okay, we've 3 league wins on the bounce, and you're looking at top 4, because we were not winning the Champions League this season anyway. You know, it's been clear for a long time. We've not got a chance in hell. And, you know, people are going to get on to me because I wanted Real Madrid and all that. But I tell you what, half the teams who are left in this competition would knock us out right now. So it's not just a case of, oh, we're out because we got Real Madrid. Half the teams in the competition would probably beat us.
We've just shipped... I know, but that's beside the point as well, because we've just, in the immediacy, like... We've just shipped 5 goals at Anfield to Real Madrid. So,
I know,
I think people would have been okay with us going out to them, but like the manner of the way that went down tonight is not acceptable.
No, it's not acceptable, but you can't let it ruin your season. If I'm Klopp, I'm saying to them, okay, look, that's gone. You've just been beaten by the European champions. Stupid mistakes, you know, you've paid the price and it looks bad. You've conceded 5 goals after being 2-0 up. It's bad, but it's gone. Don't be like letting that ruin your season now. You've got to go to Crystal Palace at the weekend. We win the next 2 league games, and 4th is well and truly on. But if we start going, oh no, look, we're shit, or the confidence is gone and all that, well then we're just going to carry on as we have been, like, you know, with stupid fucking, you know, away defeats, like, you know, Brighton, Brentford. We could go to Palace and just get turned over if we're not right. You know, if the mentality's not right. That's the thing, is like the mentality's so fragile at the moment, and we just started to piece a little bit of confidence together with a couple of wins, and then we're 2-0 up and everything looks great, and then it just all goes to shit. But you can't let that now decide the rest of the season. They've got to bounce back from it. They've got to just like say, oh, put this to bed, it's gone. You know, it was a disastrous night, but there was some good things to take from it, because look how well we played for like half an hour, whatever it was. That's what we've got to build on. We've got to try to build on that. And again, it comes down to what I was saying about, like, we're flawed. You know, we've got problems in certain areas of the pitch, so we've got to just score goals. And it looked like maybe we were going to do that tonight, the way we started. but then the attacking play just fizzled out as well. I thought, like, you know, it just, the confidence just went throughout the whole team, and we stopped doing the things that we were doing well in the first half. And that's the problem that we've got now, is we've got to just concentrate on getting the attacking side going and compensate for all of these like deficiencies that we've got, because
Dave,
it was just wide open.
I mean, if you're going to have to score 6 goals at home to win, then
well, yeah,
you know, that's a lot of compensating.
You're not having to score 6 against Wolves, are you, when we play Wolves?
No, I know, but like, anyway, I just want to come to Stu, because you haven't had much of an opportunity to speak so far. Me and Dave have been batting back and forth, but basing it on what Dave said there, do you think it's going to be possible for us to compartmentalise that and say it's gone now, just recover from it, go on to Palace and win at the weekend? And also, do you think that we might have been a little bit guilty of taking a little bit too much heart from the couple of wins we had against a terrible Everton team that hit the post just before we scored, and a Newcastle team that outplayed us with 10 men at the weekend?
No, I think we can go. I think we can go on from it, and I think we'll be able to compartmentalise it. I don't think that'll be an issue, because I mean, Dave will tell you, I wasn't that impressed with the Newcastle game. I was doing my head in because I thought there was a lot of sloppiness and stuff like that. Whereas I think that first half is probably the best half of football we've played this year. I can't think of a better half of football. I thought it looked like the old Liverpool had come back. So I can take encouragement from that. I can take encouragement from Fabinho. Looked class again for me. He looked back to his best tonight. I thought he was excellent. I thought there wasn't a better player on the pitch. The midfield was decent first half. Henderson, Bajcetic. There are shoots. The attacking start is looking like it's coming together. I thought Gakpo was decent first half as well. I think his pressing was good. Mm-hmm. And so you can, at the end of the day, that we've got the second half in us. And I feel like it is a freak occurrence as well. It is a little bit like getting hit by lightning because you've been hit by Real Madrid. Like, we aren't going to play another football team this year that score 5 goals from... What was I think saw somewhere their XG was under 2 or something.
It was,
we're not going to go up against many teams that are going to do that to you. And again, there's a couple of free in there. There's a deflection. There's the keeper kicking one in his own net. Which that's all on Alisson for me, Dave. That's as far as I'm concerned. You give it back to the goalkeeper. It's up to him. He can leather up the pitch if he wants. But I mean, Vinicius wasn't even pressing him. Vinicius had turned away and he was looking away and he just kicked it right at him. It's just. He's brilliant, and he's been brilliant all year, so he's allowed to have a couple of them in a season, but it could really do without him doing it in the Champions League at 2-1 up, couldn't we? I'm not... It sounds mad, but I am encouraged by the second half, and by the first half, sorry, and the second half hasn't really...
Fucking hell. It sounds worse than mad.
And the second half doesn't discourage me that much, because I feel like the second half is just, that's us when that's how we've been for a bit, where, as I say, I'd have to have a look, but I felt like we were still getting the ball in the final third a lot, and then doing stupid fucking things with it and giving it away too easy. And I just feel like it's that lack of ruthlessness at both ends that's killed us again, and that's been a problem this year. So that's not a surprise to me. If you put that version of Liverpool up against Real Madrid, then they ship 3 goals in a half. So I don't, it doesn't knock me out. It doesn't make me worry for the rest of the year. Whereas the first half does give me a little bit of encouragement that I feel like we can put a couple of results together, and that if we play that against the likes of Palace, Wolves, I mean, we need to show up for a 90-minute game against United instead of playing 45 minutes. But I'm not that put out by it. But then, like I say, with the whole 5-0 thing, I'm never that bothered when people go. It's like with the Villa thing where they're like, "Oh, they've humiliated you," and it's like, they've had a good day, we've had a bad day. That's fine. It depends on how you react in the next 2 or 3 games, really. If you react properly to it, then no one's humiliated. What's humiliating is putting crap performances together for months on end, which we've done. That's humiliating. But yeah, I think I'm probably a little bit more positive than a lot of people will be listening to it. But in another way, though, I'm a little bit more. Again, I feel like I feel like I'm a little bit of an extreme on this. But the forwards have been doing my head in for quite a while, and I feel like we're
Probably since about 2019, I think.
I just feel like we're still.
You've been banging that drum for a long time.
Do you know? It's just. Do you want to see? Watch how many times Real Madrid get the ball in the final third and then just do something absolutely wank with it tonight. Almost never. Almost never. And I just feel like we do that far too often. Like, genuinely brain dead things. Núñez was doing it. Salah was doing a bit of it again tonight. And they looked brilliant in the first half. Credit to them. But when it goes wrong, we lose our heads a bit, and we're just too prone to giving the ball away. Trent was at it, Bacic was at it as well in the second half. Yeah, I think the issues with the ball make us open without the ball, and then I feel like you're asking the defence to do a lot, and then they make mistakes because you're asking them to do so much. You're giving it away in such terrible positions, like transition positions where we're all bombing forward, and we've already given it away. And obviously against Madrid, that's the worst team you can do that against, because they just killed transitions.
I
do think there's a bit of that, even when we're winning. And I'll be honest, Dave, I was saying that against Newcastle, it was still doing my head in.
Yeah.
That I still felt we were a bit loose with the ball. It's just like there'll be another attack in a couple of minutes, so it doesn't matter if I do something daft with it now. I'd just like us to be a bit. Like it to stick a bit more, and I'd like us to not just toss about with it and do stupid things, and then, oh look, we've got a foot race with Joe Gomez again down the other end.
How would you, I mean, you coach, do you? Like, how would you address that with those players that are guilty of that sort of profligacy?
I think it's hard because I feel like Klopp's always been sort of very... I think he likes to play quick. He likes you to take the risk. He'd rather it goes wrong. He'd rather you try something and it goes wrong, because I think when we're at our best as well, even it going wrong is an opportunity, because then you get the counter press. So it's the idea that I've tried to put a ball in, didn't go right, the ball's bouncing around on the edge of the area. Are we going to be first to it? So I think he quite likes that idea of go quick, but I'm not necessarily saying it's the go quick. It's do better when you're going quick. Like, again, tonight, so many 3v2. And this is going to sound mad because the defence needs to do miles better. But there's so many 3v2s, there's so many 4v3s where you freeze frame it and you're like, this has got to be dangerous. And it's just nothing comes of it. And I just feel like if you would have given Real Madrid that many 3v2s, that many 4v3s, more would have come from it. And I think we just need to be a bit more. The bar needs to be a bit higher on what we accept from that. And it sounds really snide, but especially if you're getting paid £350,000 a week and you're trying to tell me you're one of the world's best players, you have to show up more often. And that sounds super harsh. When we've got like set pieces going in and no one's heading it, I understand the forwards can look back at the defence and go, boys, could you do a bit of the basics? Could someone step off the line and attack a football maybe, rather than just standing there? I totally get that. And when the keeper's like giving it, I totally get that. But for me, that feels like the thing that when it clicks, when we were good, that was why. Because we just blow you away. You know, the game would be 2-0 and you're done. We're not doing that enough. Yeah, but that's been a bugbear of mine for a bit.
You can subscribe to the Liverpool Way podcast on all the major platforms, whether it's Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon or Podbean. Just search for the Liverpool Way, leave us a review and hit subscribe to automatically receive all new episodes. You can also head to liverpoolway.co.uk and grab a TLW season ticket for just £3 a month. There's tons of exclusive content, including match reports from every Liverpool game, weekly Premier League roundups, the TLW diary and access to the members-only forum. Lastly, you can follow us on social media at The Liverpool Way on Twitter and at The Liverpool Way TLW on Instagram and Facebook. I mean, we did start on a little bit more of going down a little bit more of a positive note there, Dave. And you both made some really good points there. And I mean, I'd like to be able to talk about the start that we made and be like joyous about it, but it still goes without saying that it was a really, really good start, and we're ahead after 4 minutes, and it was just really good to see it. Like, Gakpo does seem to be settling into that like Bobby role where Bobby would pick it up sort of like in the centre circle, and he would run forward with it, and Sadio would be going down one side, Mo would be going down the other, and invariably it would go to the one and the other would cross it for the other to score, and that's what like happened tonight with that first goal. And it does seem like with the finish from Darwin, he does seem to be like feeling a little bit more confident, and some of those finishes that we saw from him at Benfica last year that we haven't necessarily seen from him so far because of a lack of composure in the moment are starting to come off now, and that is a good sign.
I think as well though with Darwin, I mean he scored more or less the exact same goal at Fulham. That was one where he's not really got any time to think about it. It's like it's instinctive. It's just a natural finish. He's been fine with that. A lot of it's been, when he's running clean through and he's got to decide like where am I going to put it, and then he's blasting it at the keeper. So goals like that tonight, I expect him to do stuff like that because it's instinctive. Brilliant finish, really well worked goal. And then I thought, like as you say about Gakpo, I thought like in the first 20 minutes he was really good. Strong. That one when like Camavinga was trying to pull him back and he just held him off, and he just,
I wrote that down.
He started to look like more comfortable now, and he knows what he's doing, and it also helps that like when he was first in the team, Darwin was out, wasn't he? So we had like he was playing on the left. My memory's so fucking bad. We had like we had Ox playing on the left at one point. Then Gakpo comes in and he plays on the left at first. Then he moves into the middle, but like it just wasn't settled. But now we've got that three, and you can see it's starting to click a bit with them. Darwin. I like Darwin on the left. I think it's a good option for us now. When Diaz comes back, obviously that like muddies the water. Like what you do with Darwin then, but. Darwin on the left, I like it because he puts a shift in, he gets back and he helps Robbo as well. I mean, that one when he got back and the ball went over Robbo's head and Darwin's behind him and just heads it behind for a corner. I'm like, that's quality. He doesn't get enough credit for that side of the game. He works, he puts a shift in. So that's a positive. It's like having Darwin, playing. We just need to keep him fit, and then that front three. I think that there's signs that we could have something there. It's promising. It's just everything else. Just it's like Stu says. Really, it's like whenever we lose the ball, your instinct initially is like, this is going to be trouble. Now, some of it just comes down to the quality of the opposition. Sometimes you can get away with that. Like, we played really well against Everton, but the times when we give the ball away, there was no threat. They offered absolutely zero threat at all. So you're looking at that thing. We've dominated it. We've played really well, which we did. But also the opposition plays a part in that, because if you give the ball away against Everton and they're just like shitting themselves and giving it straight back to you, it's a world of difference to you giving the ball away against Real Madrid and then like they're just breaking through you and it's like, oh fucking hell. So these are problems that we've had all season, is like giving the ball away cheaply, and when we do, we're not equipped to deal with it. It has been a bit better recently, the shapes just looked a bit better, whereas we were all over the place, and like the Wolves game and the Brighton game, and tonight, we were all over the place at times, but it's extenuating circumstances. It's Real Madrid. It was like a bit of a shell-shocked reaction from being 2-0 up, and then suddenly the game's gone away from us, and it's like, well, we need to chase it because we're getting beat, but if we chase it too much, we could get really fucking properly hammered. So it's just a night that I just think we need to just forget it and move on. Easier said than done, I know, but there's no point dwelling on it. We're not going to play Real Madrid like every week, are we? We have to play them once more, unfortunately. I mean, it's a shame we can't just forfeit it now and just say, you know what, we've seen enough. Good luck, lads. You're just through. Don't worry about the second leg. But I actually don't think the second leg will be too bad, because I think they've done enough, and I don't think they'll go out like they'll probably rest a few players maybe, or they'll just be on cruise control just to get through the game. I don't think they're going to rub our noses in it and really go for it. So I'm not massively worried about the second leg in terms of what they'll do to us. But I mean, it's over. There's no way in hell we're turning this around.
Yeah, let's not countenance that. Stu, I just want to touch on something Dave said there about the shape was starting to look a little bit better in terms of what happens when we give the ball away, and I think a lot of that might have been down to Bajcetic coming in and playing the 6 and doing it quite well, and then we move him into the 8, and then all of a sudden we're vulnerable again. Am I like misreading that? Like, should we? He was probably our best performer in those games where we were really struggling, and then we move him to a new position. So why couldn't we just keep him where he was, doing a good job?
I think that when we improved, I know there was a lot of talk about there wasn't legs in the midfield. I never thought that was the problem. I always felt that it was too strung out. So even when the performances improved a little bit, when we had those couple of performances where we were just trying not to get beat, and we went with, was it Bacitic and Thiago and Keita, I think, played a couple of games together. Yeah. So obviously I'm like, I'll tend to jump to Naby's defence when he gets too much grief. But even like, it isn't because you've brought different personnel in. I thought it was just because the shape was better. It was more compact. Because what was happening was a little bit too often. You saw, when Henderson's going and he's doing those big presses, well, he's coming out of the shape when he's doing that and he's opening us up a little bit. So it isn't always, when you're going off and being, captain fantastic, that isn't always a good thing. Sometimes it is. Was against Everton. He pressed and he put a lot of pressure on them and it works sometimes it doesn't. So I felt like it was more, we'd got the shape together. The argument is that you're actually better against Real Madrid when the defensive line's high, because your unit's nice and tight together. And then I think in the second half you get hurt a couple of times in behind, your defensive line decides to drop off a bit, your forward line stops pressing quite as hard, and then there's just gaps. There's just more gaps to play around you, and it's natural that happens. But I feel like that's probably in the second half that's one of the reasons. I like Bacitic, and I think he'd be good in the 8 as well. There's bits of Thiago about him, and I don't necessarily think that was the problem today. I think we just come up against a good side. I think, trying to think which performance it was. I think it was the derby. Yeah, it was the Everton game. I think Bacitic put in from the 8. He put in a pressing performance. It was like one of the top 5-6 pressing performances under Klopp in like the whole of Klopp's time. It was up. I mean, there's a couple that, like, I was teasing the boys saying it was nearly up at Naby Keita in the cup semi-final levels. It wasn't quite, but it's like, no, genuinely that is like a benchmark of like I think it's, you win it back 12 times, he pressed however many, it was, really. So I think he can do the 8. I think he could be, and it's nice, I think, to have a bit of flexibility that he can do both. Like I say, I thought Fabinho played well. I thought the midfield was decent today, really, until the goals start going in. And I don't think you can look at it and go, are the goals really the midfield's fault? The keeper one isn't, the cross isn't. I mean, I was fuming that Fabinho or Bacitic didn't pull the midfielder down. He's gone past both of them for
Bacitic tried to be fair, he just didn't.
Yeah,
really
for the Benzema goal, it's like someone's got to just rugby tackle him there, lads.
Fabinho needed to take someone out, and Fabinho did that thing where, like, you put your hands up and you stop running and you pull your chest back so you don't catch him. He got away with one in the first half when he possibly should have been booked, and he wasn't. So he still had that up his sleeve, and he should have took him out. I think he was trying to do the "I'm not fouling him" bump. Do you know what I mean? Where you put your hands up and you go, "I'm not going to foul him, but I'll try and like catch him with my hip or something as he goes past." But once he's gone past Fabinho, Bacitic has got to just essentially just rugby tackle him if you've got him there. I would have rather he just done. Did you see that the Sunderland lad, that Luca Nyan, what he did like the other day? When he basically just jumped on his back and the lad ended up carrying him down the pitch. I would have just done that. Just stop him. You've just got to stop that and take the yellow card. And then Bacetic tries, but he doesn't try hard enough. He had a little tug, didn't really get enough. He should have just wiped him out. One of you has got to take them out there.
Yeah.
But we don't do that enough. We are too nice in those situations. We always have been. Milner's the only one who's got like that professional foul in him where he's like, no, you're not going past.
Yeah, Fabinho's pretty good at it as well, usually.
As well. Sorry, Stu.
I was going to say, Fabinho's usually pretty good at, running around and putting a couple of booking tackles in before he gets his booking, isn't he? But even on that goal as well, I mean, I don't know whether is it harsh, but the amount of Verge on 1v1s again, I just feel like, and I know he's got a lot to do, but absolute peak Verge used to just sort those situations out, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he sort of half comes over, half dangles a leg. I mean, I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm just, when you drop down that one gear or that one level, it just feels like he's still not quite getting back to that absolute Ferrari.
Fair. It's not most of the things that have gone wrong. It's not his fault. You wouldn't, if it's any other defender, you're not really thinking anything of it and going, "That's his fault. He's to blame there." But you hold him to a higher standard. I said this on the Newcastle one. He's raised the bar so high that's his bar now. So if we're judging him by the standards that he's set, and he's not it's not bad at all, but he's not dominant. He's not convincing. Where he's not making me feel completely comfortable now. Going, it's all right. Virgil's got this. I just haven't got that feeling. Now hopefully it's not just down to him. It's other things are going wrong, but I want him to fix it, and it doesn't look like he's not capable of fixing all of the problems that we've got, and it's unrealistic to suggest that he should. But as I say, it's like the reputation that he's got for himself, fully deserved based on how he's performed. They're the standards we're going to hold him to, and I just don't think he's reaching those standards. That's not to say that he's playing badly by any means.
Cara had a massive pop at him on CBS after the game,
for
and I was quite surprised by this. He said that, I don't know whether Virgil said it jokingly or not, but he said that after the criticism that Cara had given our defence, he said that Virgil said that Cara wouldn't get in that back four.
I've seen that, yeah.
Well, Carragher said, "I think I'd take his place at the moment." So it's interesting, that's something that we wouldn't have seen really in the past.
Yeah, I've seen that
Cara
interview
having a feud with our players.
and I don't know if you two have seen it or not, but it wasn't so much that he said he wouldn't get in this team, because in a way, if he is saying that, he's kind of talking down his teammates, so he's not gonna want to do that. You'd always joke and you'd say, no, nobody's getting in ahead of Joel Matip, and Ibu's great, and Joe Gomez. It was the way he said it. It was petty and snide, I thought, because he was like, who's he getting in place of? Ibu? No. Joel, and it was just the way it was. I thought it was pretty dismissive, and I'm like, nah, you're wrong.
Any of them in the moment.
These have
not
done enough. Yeah, they've not done enough for you to be saying, you're diminishing all Carragher's achievements and that. And I didn't like it. I just thought, but he's really precious, Virgil. Any criticism of him, he doesn't handle it well. There was something with Van Basten as well, wasn't there? And I read the quotes from Van Basten, and I'm like, that's all what we've been saying all season. It was all completely fair. Now, whether there's a history there and he's reacted because Van Basten said something before, but Virgil got all precious about what Van Basten had said, and I'm like, man, everything he said there is completely right. You just got to handle criticism, and I don't think he handles it very well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, is there anything to be said? I know this sounds a bit like Sky Sports pundit, know nothing opinion, but for the amount of time that he's been playing for us and everything that he's experienced, can we expect a little bit more sort of your old-fashioned leadership, quote unquote, from him? I don't think he's really setting a very good example at the moment. He's kind of just blending in, and he's not really rousing anybody. And
yeah,
I don't know.
It's
I'm not really
difficult
sure
to quantify that.
Say it.
I know what you mean, and I've had the same thoughts myself, but I don't know if it's fair. It might be fair, it might not be, but I've had the same thoughts. I'm looking at it and going, where's the leadership here? And obviously that falls on him for the back line. Obviously Hendo's the captain and that, but Virgil's the man who's supposed to organise everything, and I'm not really seeing a great deal of organising going on. But he's only been back in the team a couple of games, so it's we've got to give him time to get his legs back under him again, I suppose.
Have we though? Because he was only out for about a month. Sorry,
yeah,
Steve.
But he's only played 2 games since he's come back, hasn't he? And then before that, it was the World Cup. So unless we're going back to his form in the first half of the season, which wasn't good, but are we still going to judge him on that now when that's so long ago? So I do think we need to just see how it plays out in the next couple of games. But I do want more from him, definitely.
The problem you've got with stuff like leadership is that you never know what's going on the training ground. You never know what's going on in the dressing room. So you don't know what's being said and what conversations people are having. So all you've got to go off is performance. And, he's not hitting the same levels of performance. I think I get a little bit when he's responded to Carragher. I haven't seen it, so I don't know how petty he's been. There is an element where he's right that Jamie Carragher was never asked to defend the way that the Liverpool defenders are asked to defend, and it would be an absolute shit show if he was asked to play the same way that those centre-backs are asked to play. They're asked to play 1v1 against, doesn't matter how quick they are, doesn't matter how tricky the players are. Essentially, you're on your own, so you'll have to look after that. And Carragher would be trying to run back to the edge of his own area. He obviously wouldn't want to play on the halfway line. It's a totally different era, totally different game, but Carragher wouldn't be suitable for, our sort of football at the moment. So I can understand why maybe some of the current defenders get a little bit frustrated when the old pros just tell them that they should be doing one thing, and it's like, well, my manager is literally telling me to do the other thing. Please, can you stop saying the same thing all the time?
Well, it's the same with Trent, isn't he? And his
it is the same with Trent, and I think as well, one thing I was going to say is the same with Verge is, when Verge was, for me, the best footballer on the planet a couple of seasons ago, and I was like, well, if you're not going to give him the Ballon d'Or now, you're just saying you're never going to give it to a centre-half again, because he was so good.
Yeah.
For me, he was like, if you were picking a football team, you've got first pick in the draft, you're picking Virgil van Dijk, because he's so far ahead of all the other centre-halves, he'd be first pick for me. Like, that was 2 seasons ago or something.
Yeah.
He's not hitting those levels, but even when he did hit those levels, he looked like he was playing with his slippers on and a pipe, wasn't he? It was always laid back. It looked lazy, it looked calm, it looked casual. So it's hard to then go, oh, well, he's not playing well and he's being casual. I think the same can be ascribed to Trent. The same can be aimed at Thiago when Thiago's not playing well. These players who it all comes so easily and it looks casual, that's just the way they play. So it's about a performance for me, and if you want to look at Virgil's performance, I just think certain bits and bobs he's not sorting out. He's not winning balls he should be winning, and his passing a couple of times there today, just really basic passes going wrong. So if you want to talk about standards and you want to try and beat Real Madrid in these big matches, your big player's got to turn up and he's got to bring 8, 9, 10 out of 10. And I don't really think he did, but he might have brought a 6 or a 7 today. But if you're the big man in the team, then you've got to perform regularly, and I think we're not quite seeing that from some of the big hitters this year. Isn't that really the reason why we're struggling this year? Is a lot of the big hitters have not turned up to the level that they have done in the past.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's other elements like I don't think the coaching, including Klopp, I think the coaching's been poor this year. I think we've been a mess. I think different points in the season, I didn't know what a Liverpool goal looked like. I didn't know what we were trying to do at times. So I think even Klopp hasn't really given 9 out of 10 this year. He's not been. He would. So I'm just, that's what happens if enough of your team and your manager aren't really performing the way they should be. That's why you fall off. It's just whether they can just get a grip. There's green shoots. There is green shoots. I can see even when we're frustrated and even when we're complaining, and you do look at people. You look at Nunes, and you're telling me that Nunes isn't going to be a 25 goal a season striker at some point soon. He is. Even off the left, he's going to. I mean, he'll probably do it this year. What's he on now? 15 or something now. Goals. What's
11.
he on? He's on. Yeah.
11. No, 12.
So
now.
So I mean, he might do 25 this year in a season when he's been struggling.
Well, Stu,
So,
you're big on all the XG and all of that. And
Yeah.
I read the other day he's number 1 in XG. I think he's number 2 in XA, which is expected assists for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah.
And he's number 1 for them combined. Now, a big part of the problem is he's been putting chances on plate for people and they've just been missing them. Looking at Mo here mostly. But also, chances have been, he's not put on a plate for him. A lot of it he's done himself, and he's not converted the chances as well. But in terms of, the whole, what he's doing for, shots on target, chances created and all that, he's right up there. It's, the best in the league in that category. So, with a little bit more just clinical finishing, and not just from him, but from the people who he's creating chances for, his numbers would be unbelievable.
Yeah,
so
the XA.
I'm not worried about him at all.
The XA value is the one that's for me is the best. It says the best things about him there, because essentially that's saying I'm putting you in, and what's the probability that someone scores from there? And if it's usually if I put you in, it's 0.5, then that means 1 in 2 times someone usually scores from that position. So it can tell you a lot about the quality of the passing you're doing. The XG, maybe not so much, because sometimes if you're the sort of person who's just taking loads of shots on, well then you are bumping your XG up because you're taking shots. You might be taking them from bad areas. I mean, obviously the worse an area you take a shot from, the lower the XG is. But yeah, I think he'll take off. I think he'll take off, but if it'll need. It's the decision making for me. It's the decision making needs to improve, and that's what send him like stratospheric. It's one to make slightly better decisions in the final third, and putting people in when he should, shooting when he should from the right places. But there are green shoots. He's encouraging, as you say. I think Gakpo was encouraging in the first half today. Last couple of games, I can see what he is now, and it's definitely the 9. He's not going to play off the left, I don't think. Yeah, I can see you can start to see how it works. So even though we're frustrated, I think we can look at that. You look at the young lad in midfield. There are a few things where you're like, okay, if we get a little bit of momentum now towards the end of the season, let's see if we can try and get in these Champions League places, and let's see if we can kick on. Good summer, and then see if we can kick on and have a good go again next year.
I think I just need to jump in here for a second, because I can just imagine, after that lengthy discussion we just had about Virgil, I can imagine everyone listening to it going, what the fuck, why you're on about Virgil? You've got to talk about Joe Gomez.
Right. I was just going to say that.
I don't really want to talk about Joe Gomez. No. I've said plenty about Joe Gomez, and I'm just going to cede the floor here to you two, because I'm not saying anything else about Joe Gomez, but I do think it needs addressing.
He's not terrible tonight. I think he's getting a lot of shit that he doesn't necessarily deserve. He's not great, but he's not. I don't think he's terrible tonight. I think the deflection's unlucky. I'm not that bothered about the foul. I just think he's copping quite a lot of flack, really, for a quite mediocre performance. But that was it.
I've said plenty too, and I don't know. I'm just not that keen on him playing for us next season, to be honest. Like, I'm definitely not where Paul's at, where he's like 25 years old and he's still a young lad who's had a lot of injuries, and at times he's shown can be a really good defender. I think if he's fourth choice, then no, I'm not even sure I think we should just cut ties, really. Like, I think that's a lost cause at this point. I'm not really sure that he's going to ever be what we want him to be. At the point on the pod the other day, about like Virg at that age as well. Well, at that age we signed Virgil van Dijk for like a world record fee for a defender, because he was like on his way to becoming the best in the world. I think we'd probably get about like 12 or 13 million if we sold Joe Gomez now, like based on the evidence of what we've seen this season. And it doesn't help him that like most of the bad stuff he does ends up going in the back of the net. Like, I think he is quite unlucky in that point, but it's also kind of like 3 of the goals tonight that he's directly involved in, or like not exactly doing the best job he possibly can as a centre half in order to stop those things from happening. That the second goal tonight, I think he can just come across and wipe that out rather than letting it run across his body and then knocking it back to Alisson. Like, you can just eradicate that situation. The foul wasn't necessary to dive in at that point, and I think it was the 5th as well, where I think like whoever's attacking for them, Virg kind of has it covered, and then he comes across and leaves Benzema completely unmarked, and then Benzema just knocks it in the corner from there. And obviously there's the deflection as well, where you can argue that he turns his back on it. So like, I'm not really
them on side for that one as well. I think the deflection's really unlucky, but I think he was the one who played them on side.
Even the fact that he turned his back on it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just he's kind of just stood on the penalty spot and does a little crouch and turns his back on it, and it's like nothing you do at the moment is convincing me in any way, shape, or form. And I think I'd just rather move on from him. If we can get somebody else to be like I think maybe we need 2 new centre halves, but if we can get somebody else to back up Virgil and Konate, then I'd be more than willing to let him go and play his trade somewhere else.
Get that Guardiola. He's a big red, wants to come here. See if we can get him.
Right. Fair enough.
I'm okay with Gomez being 4th choice. I think I love Joel Matip, but I feel like age-wise he's probably going to be the next one to leave and to be replaced, I would have thought. But I'm not as harsh on Gomez as other people. I think he has got a rick in him when he's not at the top of his game. He has got a rick in him, and I think that is a problem. But then you're not going to get a fourth choice centre half who hasn't really. I think as levels go, I think you're probably not going to find many fourth choice centre halves that are as good as Joe Gomez. So, and he's English, so there's your English quota as well. I think it can be one of those things where. Sorry.
Nat Phillips is English too.
Come on now, let's behave ourselves.
Hey.
No, I think it's harsh. I think you even get to the point there where, obviously, like, Alisson's our boy. We love him. He's amazing. It's his fault for the goal. Like, I'm a centre half. I've come across. I've passed you the ball. After that, honestly, it's not my fault. Like, either kick it to the moon, or pass it to someone. Do whatever you want. But we can't be blaming centre half for passing it back to the goalkeeper.
75% Alisson, but
it's not. It's 100% Alisson. He's stood, settled on the ball. It's moved on. We've now got a new move, and he fucks it. I just can't see. That's in no way am I blaming my centre half for that. I'd blame the set piece goal more, even without seeing where Gomez is. I'd say you're a centre half, go and head it. I'd blame him more for that without even knowing where he was stood than I would for the Alisson goal.
I don't know. I need to see that again. As I say, I don't know whose fault the free kick was, but everyone was just stood still, and there's one player in the box moving, and he scored.
Should we have a quick look at the weekend then? I mean, like, gosh, it's but the Ancelotti man, like, it's starting to make me resent or regret, like, pissing him off so much 18 years ago. He's done nothing but make us pay ever since.
And his fucking eyebrow. I'm sick of looking at him now. I'm sick of the sight of him. I wish he'd just
never want to see
fuck
him
off.
ever again.
No.
You were the one who wanted to see him again twice.
Yeah, well, you know what? I said after the final I want no part of him ever again, and I went back on it. My logic was sound at the time when I said it, but if I ever do that again, just fucking shoot me. I want no part of Real Madrid ever again now. That's it. I'm done. I don't ever. I mean, we may have to play them, but I'm never going to choose to want to play them again. That's it. I've learnt my lesson well and truly.
Well, if one good thing comes out of tonight, then let that be it.
Don't fuck with Real Madrid
lesson
in the Champions League just because you're not gonna come out on the right side of it.
You don't piss in the wind. You don't tug on Superman's cape.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So Saturday evening, 7:45 kickoff away at Palace. What team are we picking for that, Stu?
I don't know, but you've just saying 7:45 kickoff at Palace. Palace! It'll be bouncing, won't it? Selhurst Park. And luckily, they haven't got any really quick wingers to get in behind and trouble us, so we'll be fine. Yeah.
It's not like we haven't got any of those to worry about, is it?
It's not like they haven't got a selection of about 5 of them. Fucking hell. I don't know what to. Well, I mean, to be honest, does he? It gives you a tricky selection now as a manager, because how do you build your team around the next Real Madrid game? Are you bothered about resting people for the next Madrid game?
It's 3 weeks away, isn't it, though?
Oh, is it? I thought it was 2. Is it 3 weeks away?
3, yeah.
Oh, right, okay. I mean, if that lot could go again, I'd probably wouldn't make that many changes, to be honest. I'd rather just
send like Colo Torre and Fabio Barini and like all those deadbeats over to the Bernabeu like last time. Can we not just do that again?
Oh, Jay Spearing's still playing, isn't he?
Maybe see if Stevie fancies it because he missed out last time.
Lone Jay from Tranmere.
Not Jay's here. He's out under 21.
Oh, yeah, he isn't he? Yeah, I thought he was still playing at Tranny.
Yeah, now he's player coach, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we registered him in the Champions League squad, though, unfortunately.
Did we not? That's a mistake,
He's English too, Stu.
Yeah.
He is, yeah. I don't know, but I think probably pretty much the same side, isn't it? Depends who's fit for the weekend.
I think Matip will play.
Yeah. I think maybe we have to be a bit careful as well playing Bacitic as much as we're playing him. I think you can't go every single week, I think.
I know where this is going.
No.
Go on.
No, I'm not bothered. Thiago can come in, Kate can come in, whoever.
Championing your boy.
It's it again. I've made this point so many times. He's not my boy. I'm just the only one who doesn't rag on him constantly. I feel like I'm the only one with an objective opinion on him. But anyway.
So you're calling for Naby to start then?
Anyway, start wherever you want.
No, I'm worried about Saturday, and the reason is, like, Crystal Palace are not particularly good. They're not having a great season, but in terms of how you want a team to play against us, they will look at it and go, yeah, we've got everything that we need to be able to have success against Liverpool. You know, they'll defend in numbers, and then they'll want to hit us quickly when we give the ball away, which we inevitably will, because that's what we do. And the idea of, like, Eze and Zaha, Elise as well, I think he's a really good player. Them just, like, picking up balls, like, in space and running at us. Yeah, it's a concern. But equally, they're not very good, and if we play well, we should have enough to hurt them and score more than we concede. But I do think we'll probably concede one on the break at least. So I think we're going to need to go there and score a couple at least, maybe even 3 to win it.
We at least don't like scoring.
Yeah, well, they haven't won in 8. I heard before, and it's a 8:15 kickoff, and Sky are covering it, and that probably means Martin Tyler will be on the commentary. So he'll be well up for another Liverpool have capitulated at Selhurst Park call.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got that. Well, you guys have got that to look forward to. I'll have who will I have? Probably Lee Dixon and what's his name? Peter Drury. NBC have got Peter Drury now, which sometimes it's enjoyable, and other times when you're getting beaten, he's commentating and being all poetic about it. It's the most infuriating thing in the world, but it could be worse, definitely.
He's good, though. He's good at his job.
He's very good at his job.
If we're getting beat, that's not his fault. He can only do his job. But yeah, I wish we had him.
He's very well versed.
Martin Tyler. God.
Right. Anything else you guys want to add before we call it a night tonight? Like I think we have been a little bit all over the place because it's not your average podcast, really, is it? When you race into a 2-0 lead at home against the European champions and then you end up losing 5-2, it's kind of uncharted territory for us, really. But a lot of this season feels like that. So is there anything else you feel like we haven't covered that merits mention?
Yeah, I feel robbed that we didn't get a penalty tonight. At least one. We had 2 good shouts, but I also knew there was no chance that we were getting a penalty tonight. You take on UEFA, you're not going to be getting decisions. It's not like an excuse for why, what happened tonight. We've obviously shit the bed completely, but I mean, Darwin's off the ground trying to head the ball, and a hand goes in his back and pushes him under the ball. And even the handball one, I'm the first one to say, no, I don't like handball decisions like that. But his hand's not in a natural position. So, and the Champions League, they tend to give those a lot more than you get in the Premier League, those handball decisions. So I felt like we should have had at least one penalty tonight, but I'm not the least bit surprised we didn't get one.
What I'd say about the push is at least it was consistent, because I felt like he was letting quite a lot of contact go, wasn't he? He was letting quite a lot of rough and tumble, so I think at least the one thing you can say is it was consistent to how the ref was reffing it. And I don't think VAR are going to call that a mistake, are they? They're going to say there wasn't enough contact for it.
No, we've got more chance of getting something from the on-field referee than we have with VAR. The whole UEFA thing, that's what I'm saying. But I know what you mean about the contact and that, but I just think once you've got both of your feet off the ground and you're in the air, if someone shoves you while you're off the ground, if his feet are planted and he gets a nudge in the back, it's just a bit of a nudge in the back. But when you're off the ground, that's enough to knock you underneath the ball and stop you from winning the header, and that's a foul to me. I mean, they said on commentary, but they never showed a replay of it, that Trent did the same thing when I think it was Nacho was running into the box. I didn't think that was the case at all. I just thought that Nacho slowed down and Trent kind of ran into the back of him. But I think he was looking for it. I didn't think that was a foul anyway. But it's all it's irrelevant anyway, isn't it? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, pretty much. Apparently that ref he was really high on the list of the refs who'd given penalties this year. Like, I think it was something like 32 and 57 games or something given this year. So, yeah. Anyway, Stu, you got anything to add before we call it a night?
No, I don't think so. I think it was interesting. I thought the atmosphere sounded good on the TV. I thought, all the noise, the anti-UEFA noise at the start. I think it's, I thought it was decent.
Cost us 2 penalties.
Well, yeah, it felt a little bit not embarrassing, but it was just quite a sad ending, wasn't it? When towards the end you're like, fuck you, UEFA, and it's just like, yeah, I mean,
they're sitting back with the big cigars, going, yeah, you're a losing fan.
Yeah, you're getting embarrassed, lads. You're getting embarrassed. So, yeah. But no, I don't think so. Nothing else on top of that.
Good stuff. All right, well, kudos to you guys for coming on after the game, and I suppose I should pat myself on the back as well for doing it. Yeah. It's Dave's responsibility again on Saturday, so he'll be hosting after the game with a couple of the lads. Hopefully we'll be in a much better mood. It feels like we've said that after like 50% of the games this season.
I know.
But yeah, hopefully we can turn it around again. Keep the league season back on track at least against Palace at the weekend. But until then, we'll catch you soon.